Welcome to Russia.
Hello there, gorgeous gamers. It's been a minute, hasn't it? Well, like Alec Trevelyan stepping out of the shadows in GoldenEye, Pure Play TV has risen from the dead, and we're kickstarting this revival with a fun little listicle, because our data shows that's what the internet wants, so that's what the internet gets. Let's have at it. Bond has done it all. He's battled the bad guys on the moon, he's got his nuts smashed by a psycho Albanian crime lord, and he died the most stoic and manly death ever conceived. The guy is a legend of the silver screen, but he's also done pretty well outside of the movie theatres. Recent years haven't given us much to love in terms of Bond games, but a flick through the history book shows there was once a steady trickle of new Bond games releasing every couple of years. Some were good, others were great, and some were downright shite. We've whittled them down and arranged this little list for you, so here are the 7 best James Bond games. Number 7. From Russia with Love. Can you imagine Sean Connery sitting in a recording booth in his old age, reading out scripted quips for a video game version of one of his movies? Well, that's exactly what he did, rest his soul, for the decent From Russia with Love, a video game adaptation of the movie. Released on home console and Sony's PSP, the latter was especially impressive given it was basically a one-for-one port of the home console experience. From Russia with Love expanded on the original movie and sometimes got a little bit silly with it all, but who can complain when you've got Sean Connery's James Bond smirking his way through another adventure. Number 6. Nightfire. Pierce Brosnan's penultimate outing as video game Bond was a doozy, taking players back to the familiar first-person perspective once more, but opening the game up with semi-open world levels. Rather than being directed from A to B and told to shoot everything in between, players could explore the maps and take on objectives and optional mission tasks however they liked, with a wide range of weapons and classic Bond gadgetry. To be fair, it's a little rough around the edges playing the game today, but if you manage to get through it back in the day, this one is worth taking for another spin, even if it's just for old time's sake. Number 5. GoldenEye 007, 2010 version. Eurocom's reimagining of the classic N64 game was interesting, to say the least. With the story being altered to suit the new face of the game, Daniel Craig, the final product only bore a passing resemblance to its inspiration. Just as well too, because the legal mumbo-jumbo around the GoldenEye game license would have even Saul Goodman taking himself for a final walk through the Albuquerque desert. But it's still a decent little shooter. Yes, it's built on the foundations of Call of Duty, but there's no denying that the presentation is decent and the story reworked for the modern age. And to slip it into the Daniel Craig continuity, this version of GoldenEye sits between Quantum and Skyfall, are actually improvements over the original. It may lack a bit of heart and feel like a cog in the corporate machine, but if Bond is in your blood, you'll enjoy it all the same. Number 4. Bloodstone. Mix Assassin's Creed, Uncharted and James Bond into a blender and you get Blood and Guts. Mix it into a corporate checkbox machine and you get 007 James Bond Bloodstone. It's not as bad as it sounds, to be fair, and for hardcore fans of the suave super spy, this original story serves as a standalone tale between the Daniel Craig movies. It doesn't hurt that one of the writers from the movies, Bruce Firestein, penned the story, giving it the authentic Bond flavour. It wasn't that well received back in its day, but if you get the chance, go back and give this one a go, and you'll find a surprisingly decent third-person action-adventure propped up by the Bond license. Number 3. Quantum of Solace. Blonde Bond Daniel Craig's first video game outing as the character was, admittedly, James Bond with a lick of Call of Duty paint, with some third-person cover mechanics thrown in because Activision paid to use Daniel Craig's likeness and they wanted to make sure we bloody saw it. To be fair, it was actually fairly well done and gave players a taste of what a first/third-person Call of Duty cover shooter could look like. Quantum of Solace follows its movie source material very closely, even diverging at times to expand on the story and offer some extra explosive gameplay. Interestingly though, there are 2 versions of the game, with the then next-gen Xbox 360 and PS3 versions being a first-person shooter with third-person cover mechanics, and the last-gen PS2 version being a straight-up third-person shooter. Both are worth a look if you're missing Mr. Craig after No Time to Die. Number 2. 007 GoldenEye Remastered. The one that started it all. Instead of naming the original, we're just going to go with the modern remaster because it's essentially the same game made good for modern machines, especially if you're playing on Xbox where you get proper modern first-person shooter controls. The less said about the Switch version's dodgy controls, the better. GoldenEye Remastered may not be up to the standards of modern shooters, and we've come a long way since the days of shooting a soldier on the potty, but for us older players with countless hours spent screen cheating our mates in multiplayer, like tomorrow, GoldenEye never dies. Number 1. Everything or Nothing. And our number 1 on this list is Everything or Nothing, and not just because its opening tune is absolutely fuego. The gameplay, the graphics, the controls, it all holds up today. Mostly. Everything or Nothing marked the end of an era, as it would be the final James Bond game to feature the fan favourite Pierce Brosnan in an original story that brought a blend of high-octane action, low-key stealth, and memorable vehicle sections that had no right being as good as they were. And that is our list. What do you reckon? What's your number 1 Bond game? Let us know down in the comments, and while you're down there tapping away, give the like and subscribe buttons a tap, and give the bell icon a nudge so you're notified whenever we've got new stuff for you to watch. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next mission. Until then, cheers my dears.